Yes, I did.
The range is good. Yeah?
Rock and roll.
Are we live? Did you get us live or no?
This would be great if we're getting all this, because this is like the this is the true meaning of what it means.
It's more like,
There you go.
yeah. Hell yeah.
That's the way to start it off. All right. You got your ringer off?
I do.
Yeah, it's good.
It tastes so fucking good.
Bring it.
What's taste good?
My snake bite I got going over here.
Oh, you got a snake bite? That's good. So Carlene's trying to make up for lost time after the baby there.
Oh,
Not really. Just enjoying a beer.
Just enjoying a beer.
Tastes so good sometimes.
Yeah? How you know? Never fails.
There it is.
The second we start recording, the sirens
I feel like
start
I
rolling.
got cat hair on me. See any?
Nope. See a lot of hair on you, though.
Cleaned out, man.
Yeah.
I got the best cat. Her name is Ladybug, man. She is. This is the
You have one?
I got one cat.
I have 4.
You're a 4-cat guy.
No.
I got 9 dogs and 1 cat.
You have 9 dogs?
Do.
At your house here in Lighthouse Point?
No,
See,
I
could
have.
say something.
I have
Like, I
2
got one
here,
pussy.
and then I got. I actually got 10. I think we got 8 or 9 in Tennessee and 2 here.
Really?
Yes.
It's a lot of dogs. What kind of dogs do you have?
All different. My wife, she loves the rescue dogs.
Yeah.
So it's a different few every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here I have Buddy the Wiener Dog,
Okay.
and I just wrote a song called "Mama Loves Her Wiener Dog." Mama loves her wiener.
Right.
But
You wrote a country song or you wrote a rap?
I did.
shit, I
That's a
forgot my
country
dog.
song. It's a country song. So I love my Mama loves her wiener.
3 chords and the truth.
That's all there. That's all there is. Anyway, no, but my Ladybug. She's
You
my
really wrote a song called Mama Loves Her Wiener?
dog.
Mama
yeah.
does love her wiener.
Yeah, so it says Mama loves her wiener real big and dog real small down here in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wrote that song, and that we haven't produced that yet. That's coming though.
Is it come? Where do you record?
You know, I've been recording at True Noise Studio. You know Eddie Perez, classic dude, down
Yeah?
in Miami. Yeah, he's in Miami now. He was out here in
Well,
West
you're heading
Lauderdale.
all the way down to the 305
Dude.
to lay down your
But
tracks.
honestly, the first time I ever. It's a great story. When you want to hear the story.
I do. That's, I mean, we're here,
Anyway,
brother.
All right, so I'll give you the quick version. I was in the store one day and I'm in the office and I'm listening to the guys because they're selling tackle and meeting with customers. These guys are talking and I couldn't really tell what they were saying. I walk out the front door of my office and said, "What are you guys talking about?" And one kid's Devin, his name is Devin, was working back then. He's not there anymore. But he
Deaf
said,
Devin?
"Oh, Deaf Devin." I said, what are you talking?" He says, "Man, I'm laying down mad bars, dude." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to be the new rapper, dude, the new biggest rapper on the scene." I said, "No kidding, man." He said, "What do you rap about?" He goes, "All fish rap." I said, "Hit me, man. Let me see what you got." And
And it was horrible.
it was okay, but he had like 2 sentences and then would get stuck. And then I would give him the next one,
Right.
like right away.
Was he trying to freestyle?
He was freestyling, but it really wasn't working. But he's got talent. Long story short, after about 3 songs that he did, he said, "Man, you really should write a rap song." I said, "Yeah, whatever, dude."
Thank you, my dear. You want me to get a bell? I will get a bell. Every time we need a drink, you heard her, right? You guys heard her?
I heard it.
I'm getting a bell. Thing, I'm going to put it right in the middle, and it's going to be like Family Feud, and we're going to be like face off, and then
That's it.
she'll come with a new drink.
That's it. So he says, "Why don't you write a rap song?" And I said, "Yeah, I really don't have time for that." That night, my wife was out of town, and I went home, and I was sitting at the dining room table, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to write a rap song, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to write the song." And we had just killed the big sword in a tournament with Bouncer.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there and I wrote the song that night, Bust a Nickel.
Yeah, I know it.
And Bust a Nickel. And
It's
so
good.
I came in the morning and I said, "Hey, man, I wrote that song." He said, "Last night?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hit me." So I gave him the lyrics. He said, "You should really record that." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't really have time for that. And then later on, maybe I should do that." Anyway, I called my buddy who's in music. He says, "You need to call this guy Eddie Perez." And Eddie said, "Come on down to the studio if you're ready." I said, "Sure." I sent him the track I researched tracks because, you know, you can go online and buy everything today. So I researched bass beat tracks and went online, found a track that I liked. sent it to Eddie, went down, and it was funny because I walked in the studio and he had like gold records from Ludacris and all these rappers, and I was really embarrassed kind of like that I actually went forth with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, he kind of, obviously I'm old. So he looked at me and he's like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, yeah, I'm just writing. I wrote a rap song.
You're not old.
What? Technically, we are getting
Technically,
old.
we're
We're going to talk about that.
Technically, we're old.
Technically, we were old. Anyway, I went in and laid down the song at 11 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, I had my first song. And man, they put it out, and it's been freaking cool ever since. We've done 3 or 4 other songs, and
Paulie really loved it. Paulie was the first one that told me about it.
Yeah,
right. And he texted me. He's like, "Dude, you got to hear this
yeah.
shit." Yeah, it's good.
And it's cool because people send me the songs, dude, while they're fishing and they're catching a sword or they're waiting for a bite. They're always sending me clips of the song while they're waiting. So it's like really exciting to see it. And we've done several other songs, and we're getting ready to drop. I'm actually going to the studio after I leave.
Come on.
Tonight, man. I'm getting
a little night sesh?
I am, dude.
You got to give me a shout out on that song. Come on now.
I just wrote a song about my life in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's like a funk song, old school 1982, 83 funk style song.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty cool song. So I'm getting ready to launch that. And then I did another one. We're going in the studio, and it's called Bigfoot Bill. And it's about a Bigfoot who steals a mate's job on a boat. And it's out there a bit. And so that'll be an interesting one. But I love lyrics, dude. Love writing.
Yeah, me too. I tell you, one time I was that's how I learned the presidents. When I was in the 5th grade, I wrote a rap to remember it.
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was
story
a
of my life.
baller. I wish I had a girl with a
Come on.
collar.
You taking a dig at me? Let's see if I remember it.
Go.
Oh my God, this is how I remember
on the
shit.
spot. Let's go.
This is how I remember things.
Yes.
It's like word association. That's because the artist brain. We got to like think of shit like that just to remember it.
Sure.
I wrote it for the second half of the presidents. We had to remember like the first half of the presidents and then the second half of the presidents.
AD and BC.
Garfield was the first, and he wasn't a cat. He was assassinated where Arthur's where it's at. Grover Cleveland was elected twice. He was assassinated. In between that was Harrison. How nice.
That was fresh.
In the 5th grade. I can't believe I just remembered that.
that was deaf.
No, not definitely. Freaking 5th grader.
No, but that's
Garfield wasn't first, and he wasn't a cat. He was assassinated where Arthur's where it's at.
But think about
Grover Cleveland was elected twice, but in between that was Harrison. How nice. That's how I remember that Grover Cleveland was elected, but then he skipped a term because Arthur came in the president and Grover Cleveland got elected. That's all. I'll never forget that ever happened.
But think about something. How old are you?
I am 48 years old.
You're old. Okay, so I'm 54. You're 48. And to remember back then, that just shows you we were around the inception of rap music. So the young bucks today don't even understand
they don't. Yeah.
that you were remembering presidents by rapping.
Yeah.
We've been around rap our whole lives.
I don't think with today's current landscape of how things are just easily thrown around and tossed around that they can understand the impact of an album like NWA Straight Outta Compton.
No. Or Sugar Hill Gang.
Right.
Skittle, wee bop, we rock a Scooby-Doo. Now guess what? America, we love you. Come on, now bring it on. That's what I mean.
Just takes you back to the Roxy dancing at Roxy days on US 1.
So this new song that I'm writing. So the first verse goes, I'm RJB from the LHP. I'm the tackle shop guy. Yeah, you may know me. I'm the guy rigging bait in the back of the shop. A swordfish bait for the next day's drop. But this ain't a song about rigging bait. I'm going to lay down my stories to set it straight. My dad had a boat called the Looking Good. I cruised that sucker all around the hood. My brother was a mate, that's what he did. I was 8 or 9, man, I was just a kid. My 10th birthday, I got my big wish. Off Hillsborough Inlet, I caught my first sailfish. Walking around like I was the goat. My brother was the headmate on the local drift boat. I told my dad the fishing life was cool. He slapped me on the neck, said, get your ass to school. That was the first verse on the new song.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's Sugar Hill Coolio. It's
right,
got this
right.
cruising.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And you can be 54 and still have fun and do it.
Do whatever you want at
and
54
right,
years old.
no doubt.
No rules anymore.
54 is not old.
No, I know. No, I feel
not
old.
old.
I feel.
Listen, there's no more rules. Let's just put with that. That's what I'm saying. I'm declaring that there's no more rules because here, we're in a point in society you do whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
It's the American dream, right? You follow that path. Age is only something that's going to hold you back physically,
Correct.
right? And it does for some people,
For sure.
you know. But I don't think it should be something that holds you back psychologically.
No.
Like I was watching the Jimmy Ivy Dr. Dre documentary. Did you see that 3-part series?
It's great, man.
Great,
Really
fantastic, phenomenal, off the charts, great 3-part documentary. But Dr. Dre said something really interesting in that, and I think towards the latter half of the whole documentary, he said music's a young man's game, and that's why he produces and everything like that. I kind of took stock at that,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know what, is it really, or is it just we wrote the rules that way, you know? But painting is not. Painting is eternal, right? But music is a different form of art, right? Because it's so locked into subculture and it's so locked into pop culture. But I think it really kind of matters what kind of music you're creating.
For sure.
So as an addendum to what he said, I'm going to say, well, you know, maybe the kind of music that he wants to put out, maybe it's a young man's game. I don't know. But you're proving him wrong.
I would say, yeah, honestly, and some of my songs are not just hip hop, but lyrically, to be able to sit down, write a song, have it flow, then pick a beat or style. It's funny because you can, and I'm learning this off the cuff. So I never went to school for it. Now, I owned a nightclub when I was 22.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some of the best bands of all time. For 5 years, I ran sound for 3 bands a night at times.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Ambassador in Deerfield.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the Spin Doctors, Molly Hatchet, Steel Paul, some of the biggest bands of all time.
Yeah, I remember that. You tell me about that when you came out to the old Coral Springs studio.
Yeah, the old studio. But no, from a music perspective, it's funny. It's so funny that we're talking about this because last night I went to the Tipperary for a cocktail, and this dude comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, you didn't call me," and I'm like, I almost forgot who he was, but I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Yeah, we were going to hook up and talk about music," and he goes, he's a musician. And long story short, he's an older guy, and I end up going to his house yesterday to jam, and I may be actually getting into a band shortly.
Really?
Yeah.
You play an instrument?
I don't. I sing. So I do the lyrics. I can work a shaker too, but that's what I'm saying. So what was interesting about it was how I went to his house and he had a steel drum set up and he loves reggae music. But to see a guy that's 50 fired up about music, playing his steel drum pots, talking about the different sounds and getting into it, and then, he kind of we played a couple of my songs and he got on the guitar, a mandolin and a regular guitar, and was able to just play a riff and bring the music to a different level because it was natural off the cuff, really from a talented musician. So it was like, wow, man, we really need to do something. So we spent an hour last night, and I think we both walked away and his brother's a bass player. So yeah, the band's called Bamboo Taxi.
I like it.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, get me in on that, man.
I'm gonna get you in on it. You gonna sing?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I'll sing. I'll sing. I'll play guitar.
Okay.
And I play
Even
harmonica.
if it's not on.
I play harmonica too.
Right. No doubt.
As long as you're not playing the skin flute with a bunch of dudes, we're good.
Carlene's back.
Oh my God. We had a.
I love that woman.
Funny. It made me think of the Circle Jerks when she said that. So some of the bands we had, a Circle Agent Orange.
We're breaking records on this one.
Yeah, Bad Brains, Fear, some of the hardcore stuff we had.
By the way, I never welcomed everyone, but welcome my special guest and very good friend, RJ Boyle, the Connected by Water podcast, powered by Joey Cardi, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and fueled by our very good friends at Papa's Pilar Rum, who remind you never to be a spectator. We're drinking the Blonde and Ginger today.
Ooh.
Blonde and Ginger.
Gotta have it.
It's your fantasy.
It is. Always has been. It's great, isn't it?
So listen, the interesting thing I think about I like the fact that we're starting off talking about music.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're both painters, we're both designers.
Right.
But it's cool because it brings a different perspective of the creative mind for us.
For sure.
To where when you do it for a living, I feel that you still have this kind of creative outlet that needs to be filled. And I think that's part of the reason why you and I are always getting into other shit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when we talked about, you and I talk about this at length with the shit we got to deal with the shirts, the apparel, and the nightmare that can kind of propose sometimes.
100%.
And sometimes like the creativity of it like gets like sucked right out of it, because it becomes too much. Like it very much becomes a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that you just put on autopilot and like the systematic things that and I don't mean to downplay any of it, because it's all great stuff, and you super appreciative for both of us have carved out a niche that is a very fortunate thing that we'll be able to do this in our lives. I just want to make that clear before I go into my rant.
Yep.
Right. But a lot of it can become very just autopilot, robotic, and just like, man, is this creative anymore? Sometimes you can get in that because you and I are very busy, right? We deal with a lot of the same customer base, and it's like a lot of like the same, workload and workflow, and it just can become daunting.
Yep.
For lack of another word, there are many words to describe that. But it's important, I think, for a creative to always find these different outlets that they can kind of pursue, because when you got to be able to do creative that's not work related. And when I say creative, it's music too. For sure.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter.
No. And, I would say really to that, I live a really cool life. Like, unbelievable.
It doesn't suck.
No. One day I'll be fishing. The next day we're doing artwork. The next day, we'll do swordfish bills. Now we're going to do films on fishing. Now we're going to make music today. I mean, God's gifted us with some special gifts. There's no question. And so the fact that we're able to execute on those and make a living doing what we do is special. So those gifts are something else. So to me, I've always, as long as you're using your gifts in the right way, but it's like, I remember, when I fished for a living, fishing 275 to 300 days a year. One of the things that I remember, people get on the boat with the Mickey Mouse ears on in the morning, and I want to catch a sailfish, and you've been out the last 14 days, and, fishing's fun until you have to do it for a living. Right? So when you're out there...
Well, art's the same. Art can be the same way.
Sure.
Right? And I'm always trying to draw parallels to art and fishing on the show, because I think they're very intertwined.
For sure.
Yeah.
No question. And spending time on the boat. But what you notice is, like, I have a great captain who runs our boat, Lisa B. But, when I think about Mark, now I fished for Mark as his mate for 4.5 years, right? Mark's been a charter captain for the last 40 plus. But Mark is a people guy. He's got more he loves to tell a joke. He loves people. He's and if you're not that, then it becomes difficult. And then the charter business, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you have to fish for a living, if you see light in other things, whether that's people, that's a huge thing for a guy who spends that kind of time on the water doing something when it's, it's wonderful when it's flat calm like it is,
Right.
But when it's 4 to 6 and, the guy tells you that they're all Vikings and then all of a sudden they're getting sick at the sea buoy, but because they're not, it just, it can draw you down a bit. But he's funny. He says, well, Bob, just remember, we do one show a day.
Right.
And when the show's over, the people tomorrow don't know anything about your show today. So I'm on stage to provide a really good time for the people. And that's so...
Well, that's what I always look at. I always call it charter, but chartering is the entertainment business.
100%.
People want to say sport fishing, they can say that all they want, but when you start chartering, it's the entertainment business.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to dance a lot in the cockpit. I'm a pretty good dancer.
Tell me all
You would
about it.
never think.
I'm glad you said cockpit at the end of that sentence.
I was waiting for some stories.
I can move, man. I can move for a big
getting a
guy.
little scared there, RJ.
No, 6'4". I can.
Hey, I'm only human. Come on, 6'5" white dude that tells me he dances. Show me.
But if a guy tells you that, he probably can.
I'm convinced you put a wig on and you put those leather pants on, you start banging a triangle,
Dude,
you look just like Will Ferrell.
Banging a what?
So I don't know. I went to Pope John Paul. So when in high school,
cowbell.
in high school, 1980, I'm going to say 81, 82, 83. Dude, all we did was breakdance. I got paid to breakdance and open Domino's Pizza with the Matthews brothers.
You got paid for that?
100%, man. We used to windmill
Where's
on
the
our heads
cardboard
and
at?
do all that.
Hell
Come
yeah.
on, dude. We did it all. That was back
Remember
in
breaking two
Oh
electric
my,
boogaloo?
hey, popping and locking,
Yeah,
dude. We
right.
didn't play.
There it
Popping
is.
it through, man.
There it
Here,
is.
come on.
There it
You
is.
got to be able to pop it through. You know I can move now.
I'm watching you.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I'm watching you.
That was good.
6'4", 220. I mean, 6'5", 280. Come on, man. Oh, Blondie's kicking
Well, what
in.
is it? 6'4", 220 or 6'5", 280?
I started out when I pitched. I was a pitcher for
Right.
years. So
Yeah.
when I was in the program, I was 6'5", 250
He pitched for the Marlins
minors.
minor league.
But
Yeah.
because everybody's listed bigger than they are. So I was 6'5", 240, I think. But really, I was like 6'3" and a half, 195.
Okay.
But they listed you bigger than you were.
Right.
Now
Are they counting the cleats?
and the hairdo back then. Yeah, no, that was a good.
Was it Jackie Moon?
You know what? It was funny, man. True
The
story.
second Will Ferrell
True-
reference.
I gotcha. True story. So my manager, when I played in the minors, not very long because I wasn't that good, but I was.
You're good enough to play minor league baseball, though.
I was, but I couldn't. I couldn't have to. I'd either in the song I just wrote, either I'd hit you in the back or I'd strike you out. That was the deal. I could throw really hard, 90-something miles an hour.
Right.
But I had glasses this thick. Back then, they were making like government issue squares.
Right.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You know an interesting story about that? But no. Jumbo, right? Justin Layton?
I do.
Right. He played at
Yes.
Florida. You know Justin.
Yes.
So he played at Florida State. A full ride there, whatever.
Right.
He tells me this that he can throw like 95 or whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Did he really pitch for FSU?
Yeah,
Mike did too.
I know.
FSU? Oh, no,
Stop
sorry.
it.
My wife went there.
You are surrounded by Seminoles
I'm
right now.
just messing with you. My wife went there too.
All right, we're gonna start circling that
Whoa.
TP. Circle the
I
wagons.
just asked a question.
I
I
didn't-
give two
but
shits
I
about
thought
college
but
men.
I thought
Sad to say.
Anyway, but he's not tall, so there's a whole thing where his coach at Florida State says you'll never make pro because you're not tall enough.
Yep.
He's like, what are you talking about? I'm throwing in the 90s. He's like, yeah, but you're short. 90 from you is different from a 90 that's a guy
from here.
Guy your
That's right.
height.
100%.
Because your release is a lot closer to the plate.
No question.
And I never realized that until he explained that. I was like, man, that's right. And I played baseball growing up all my whole life.
Hmm.
I never really kind of clicked on that until he said that.
You know what's crazy? Baseball was my life. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. That was my goal in life. My brother was a great pitcher. When and I'll never forget, even I finished at FAU. My dad had gotten sick. I signed a letter of intent to go to Oklahoma, Sooners. Same week my dad gets terminal cancer. I said, Dad, what do you want me to do? He said, I'd like you to go to FAU so I can watch you play for the last couple of years. Yeah. So
Really?
yeah, so I finished at FAU, and
Dude, how'd that make you feel? I mean, I don't mean to put you on a one-sided couch, but seriously, that's a deep thing.
deep.
Deep.
Mm-hmm.
Full ride to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's dying of cancer,
Yep.
and he wants you to stay home for college, and you got a baseball future ahead of you.
Yeah, no question. And so it wasn't an option. It was a life-changing thing at a very crucial age.
Right. What are you about?
17,
You're 18,
18?
19?
I
Yeah.
would say I think I was 18. And I remember getting the news, all our family went down to somewhere in Miami where some hospital, and they said, well, they gave him a year to live. And it was like it's just a bad dream. You thought you were, and you'd wake up and you said, oh, it's actually not a dream. And then the next day you'd wake up and you didn't really sleep. And so like there's this whole thing of hoping it was a dream, but it never was type thing. Anyway, long story short, so for a year, I want to say maybe he lasted a year and a month after that, and greatest guy of all time, and was never able to, you can't ever smile for a year and a day, because if you catch yourself smiling or having a good time during the course of knowing your dad's going to be gone, that you felt guilt. It was a weird feeling. So and especially as being a kid. Now I have 5 brothers and sisters, so I have 3 sisters and an older brother.
You're of 6?
Of 5.
All right.
Right, second
I'm of
youngest.
6.
You're of 6, a lot.
I'm the youngest. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're the okay.
So I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, so my sister, I had an older sister and an older brother. One of them's passed away already, and then I have another older one. But for that time, the only thing looking back now, yeah, it was a difficult time, but I think the hardest thing was never getting to a point where you were able to talk to your dad like a man.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't talk to him about girls or women. I was 17, 18 years old. We weren't at that level. So, I feel like I missed that, So that's what I wish I would. I mean, listen, everybody's dealt their card in
Right.
life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people have a lot worse than I do. But it was a stressful time for an adolescent back at the time, and playing baseball and doing that and being a part of it was rough, man.
I think it definitely kind of hits home for both me and for Carlene, because we both lost a parent within a year's time here, right? Has it been a year?
Well, it's crazy that he says this because I'm looking at him, and I lost my father at like 19 years old, cancer. They gave him 6 months. He lasted 8.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 6 kids.
Yep.
I got 4 brothers and a sister, a little bit opposite of you. But yeah, it's you almost go third person with it.
Totally.
You don't really. It's like just rolling with the motions.
I'm walking outside of myself, looking in.
Because did your father like start doing more? It seemed like my dad wanted to like build brick like walls in front of us. Like like that activity, I guess, to clear their mind, to like take it off what they were thinking about. Really, it's just he started doing he was redoing his house. He was building as out front, building little brick walls, and I'm like, Dad, you've got like 4 months to go. Like, let's do something. Let's go to Vegas. Let's live. What is it you want to do? And he's just like, I just want to. Just simple things that he knew that he would never be able to do before. Again, excuse me. It's pretty crazy. I'm like, how do you just wrap your head around that?
And everybody reacts differently. We don't know how we would react if tomorrow they said, that somebody told us we had a year, right? But I remember knowing that he had a year and just watching the demise. One of the craziest things I think about, he had just bought his business, right? Even though he was involved in the furniture business his whole life, he had just purchased, so he had this hidden pressure, right, to pay the bills. He had a big mortgage, and I'll never forget one of the things, we had to move him downstairs into a garage area that we had redone, and into a hospital bed, and we all had to take turns staying with him because he wouldn't sleep, because he was afraid he would die if he went to sleep. So I would take a couple hours, then Carrie, my sister, would come in, Maureen would come in, and so we'd all rotate. And one of the craziest things I ever, when you think about it back then, was he had colon cancer. And from what I remember, like he wasn't okay with having a colostomy bag. And it was like, and I didn't know this then, just get the bag, just do what you have to do to stay alive.
Right.
And long story short, he didn't want to deal with living like that in some fashion.
I don't blame him.
I kind of do.
You do? Okay.
100%.
Why?
I blame him because I never got to keep going with my over a bag. Wear the bag.
Right.
Deal with the bag. There's a guy that kicks for in the NFL, Rolf Benirschke, had a bag kicking 60-yard field goals. Deal with the bag. I never felt, when I found that out, I was like, really, over a bag? He wanted to fight this and go to this guy, and he was going to go to who told him the best story that he could last. And so, really, when I think about those nights, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, where he would walk, we would position a lazy boy in front of the door so he couldn't get out. So he would wander the room while you were trying to sleep, and it's 3 in the morning, you get pissed. Dad, lay down, just lay in the bed, And he'd get up, and once he saw the sun come up, he would, this is crazy. So he would say, I got to go to the bathroom. And we'd go into the bathroom, and he didn't even have his toothbrush, and he would have his eyes closed, and he'd brush his teeth, and then he'd come out and he'd sit on the bed, and he'd button his shirt, but he didn't have a shirt on. See, he'd go through the motions of putting his clothes on because he had to provide for his family because it was undone. It was a very uneasy time to see somebody go through having the pressure, knowing in their mind that they still needed to provide and want to do that. And there was no ease to his death. So it was horrible to watch.
Yeah.
You know, and that when you watch that firsthand for a year, the demise of a human being, man, it changes you.
It changes you.
Heavily. And so, and not change everybody, it changes most though, because I got to tell you, it was, even think about, you know, like my sister Carrie, youngest, she's the youngest, she was down here this weekend, but we sit and talk about those things, you know, gosh, remember, my mom just died 8 months ago or so, and just to watch that whole thing and, you know, and just, there's not too many people you can share with, you know, obviously that saw the specifics of that death. Death is a part of our life, but now that you know, but you talk about losing somebody, I mean, it's in this life. See, to me, truthfully, after experiencing a lot of death, I know where I'm going, so I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Yeah, I know I'm going to heaven, and I feel really good about it. And it's a lot easier than this. This is a difficult life.
It's tough, man.
This is a tough life.
You know,
even though we do cool stuff, there's a lot of people that don't.
You know, that's half the reason why I do cool stuff, because it's pretty much like, fuck it, might as well.
You have to.
You know what I mean?
100%.
But, you know, it's funny because we always say that, like, this whole show, this whole platform, we wanted to say, I'm bringing on, most of the guys I bring on are fishermen, captains, you know what I mean, friends that, whatever. But we try to also cast a wider net and bring in, just gets connected by water, not connected by fishing, right? But we always say it's a fishing show, it's not about fishing. And that's really important that, you know, you're talking about. I didn't want to bring you on to talk about fishing or any kind of technique. Lord knows you talk about that enough on your platform with your RJ's crew and all that. Like that, you get enough of that, right? And that's not why I brought you in here, but I'm very happy that you're kind of talking about that, because one of the things that we always say, this is an organic platform, and we don't know where the conversation is going to go, and that's it. It just takes on a life of its own. I'm very happy about this because I really want to get into some things, because I've been going through a tough time recently, just business-wise, psychologically, right? And we talked about this like a couple months ago. You know what I mean? I opened up to you, and I'm like, man, you know, getting a little frustrated with this and that and the other thing, and it could eat you alive if you let it get to you, and you got to just kind of rise above it all, and God's talking to us, right? There you go.
I love it.
Making toys.
Yep.
I'm good for now. Yeah. I got to get the bell.
Dang.
So it's like, but I want to talk about perspective today.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really, really important. And I think it's really important, I think, for me or you and I to talk about that, because therapeutically it'll help me to be able to lean on someone else who understands really, truly what I deal with. You know what I mean? Because you deal with the exact same thing that I do. And, you know, it's helpful to understand that. But, you know, there's a lot of parallels going on. Obviously, you're bringing up something very deep and emotional to you. We're brought up things that are deep and emotional to us, right?
Right.
But perspective-wise, it's helpful to be able to share that. When you had your recent episode where you went in the hospital, did that help you change your perspective?
So... Nobody really knows about it.
I don't know. Yeah, no one really knows about it. So,
right. So I'll let it out.
I wanted to clear that with you before we started recording.
Right. So true story. So, gosh, man, December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever it was.
Yeah. And to be clear, I texted you, said, hey, you want to do a podcast? And you're like, not right now.
Not feeling good right now. Yeah. And so this is I think it's helpful, this story, for all guys, guys, anybody, women, men, anything, to get physicals, get checked out properly. So I get a physical every year. You know, my wife's on me. Even though I have the Irish skin, I get, you know, I'm always getting checked. I see you're bleeding. So I know something got him. Anyway, went to sleep one night. I don't sleep that well. Never,
Mhm.
just don't sleep. I'm always going. I got art to do. I got this.
I'm with you.
And it's really bad for you. But I wake up on a.
You're Irish and you're an artist.
That's it. So Wednesday night.
Double whammy.
That's it. This guy. Wednesday night, 3:30 in the morning. I wake up and I'm laying on my side, and I'm like, and I sit up in my bed. I'm like, oh man, hurt. But I thought I was laying on my arm because I was. I sit on the bed 15 minutes, it goes away. Lay back down, go to sleep. Next night, 3:30 in the morning, same exact position. Wake up, I'm laying on my arm.
It's your right arm?
Right arm. Right arm, not left. Hurts even worse. 20 minutes, it goes away. But because I'm waking up to it, laying on it, I'm thinking I'm
you slept on your arm. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's Saturday morning, and 3:30, I wake up and it's like taking an ice pick to your spinal cord.
Ugh.
And I'm laying in the same position, and I sit up in the bed, and I'm like, and I remember thinking, God's blessed me this my whole life. I've been relatively healthy, but I feel like maybe now I did something to a disc. I did something in my neck. And I have what do you call it when you eat Italian food sometimes? Heartburn.
Did the heartburn?
I don't get heartburn.
Yeah.
I got heartburn, and and I thought I slipped a disc. So I'm walking around the house, like moving my shoulder, but it's like interiorly, and so I'm like, yeah, something's not right here. And my wife is in Tennessee, and I'm by myself. And so
that's even scarier.
So I sit on the lazy boy, and I'm like, I Google having a heart attack symptoms.
Oh man.
Heartburn.
WebMD?
Shoulders and pain in shoulder.
WebMD?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You think you're gonna die?
Dilated eyes.
So I'm hurting that bad. So I can't really breathe in all the way because it feels like the ice pick sticking between my vertebrae. And so I'm like, the second I read that, I put my shoes on. Instead of calling 911 like I should have, I get in my car and start driving to Boca Community Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
About halfway there, it was like a 100-pound lead on your chest. Here it comes, man. It's coming.
Really?
Yeah. And I can't breathe. I can't breathe more than just a really shallow breath.
Did you have a heart attack recently?
So this is what we're going.
Okay, I didn't realize that. My apologies.
Yeah,
so
no,
this is
that's all
leading
good.
up to
that's
it.
that's
okay.
it. So I had never had a heart attack. I'm on my way. I'm up at Dixie and Glades Road, halfway there, and I can't breathe. Thank God I didn't catch a train. So I get to the hospital.
Yeah, right.
And I ditch my car in the ER,
running,
barely made it inside. And they take me in. They put me on morphine and the drip or whatever, the nitro or whatever they put you on, and go in there. And the guy says, I need to lay you down on this table to check you. They gave me something, must have put the dye in you. You just see. Well, I said, I can't lay down. My back hurts so bad. Anyway, he says, well, you don't have a choice. So here we go. And he pushes me, and it hurts so bad I start yakking everywhere.
Really?
Everywhere. I was done. I was just like, he pushes me down on the table to get me into the thing, and I start puking everywhere. So they get me in the thing. They take me out. They get me into a room. And this guy comes in several hours later, and it was the worst night of all time because there was a guy in the bed next to us who was snoring so bad that I just wanted to go to sleep. And I think I lost it on him a couple times, and I never, to this day, even know who was in there. But doctor comes in, cool dude, nice guy, but he comes in, he says, hey man, how you doing? I said, I'm doing all right. He said, you're in rough shape, bud, really bad shape. We're going to be doing a quadruple bypass on you this morning.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay.
Doesn't sound fun.
So I go, there was a nurse. So he goes, give me a minute, walks out.
How the hell did that make you feel when you heard that?
I didn't even, okay. It is what it is. No.
Didn't compute.
You know, it did. You know, it is what it is. It was funny. There was a nurse.
You're probably like thinking, like, at least I'm in the right place.
I made it here. I'm here.
Yeah.
And so there was a lady, there was a nurse helping the guy next to me. And she like pulls this curtain back and she goes, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, why? She goes, well, there's no nurse here to like comfort you. That was some pretty heavy news. I'm like, yeah, it was, wasn't it? I'm like, holy shit. The guy, all of a sudden he walks back in, he goes, you're not diabetic. I go, no. I go, I get a physical every year. I might be a few pounds overweight, no doubt. But he goes, the fact that you're even walking around is a miracle, dude. You have no blood running through 3 of your arteries or whatever he says. And he goes, but you're not diabetic. I said, no. He goes, all right, I'll be back in. Comes back in and he says, we're going to put stents in instead of doing this. So long story short, this was on a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock or whatever. And he says, but my crew is not here till Monday, so I'd like to hold off till Monday if you make it till then. I'm like,
what do
you make it till
then?
Are
you kidding me?
And he didn't mean
scalpel.
Make it till exactly. He didn't mean make it till then.
Was he messing with you?
Right, no, but he goes, no.
So the nurse comes back over and goes, how'd you take that news?
Right.
Oh my God.
If you make it till then, meaning if you don't have another episode. That next morning at 3:30, 3:15, I'm sleeping. 20 people run in the room. You're going now. You're going to have a heart attack. Happened again. Same exact time the next morning. They took me in, put me under, whatever. I wake up on the slab or whatever you got there.
Gurney.
And so they shave your groin, they shave your arm and whatever.
Go into that a little more?
Yeah, they shave you. Yeah, exactly.
They shave your Irish.
Yours was already shaved. It was like a...
Took care of it for you already, guys. We're good.
We're good. So I'm laying on the slab or whatever. Now I wake up and I look to my left and I see the big screen. Right, it's a big computer screen and.
What, are you looking at your nuts?
Yeah, no, that was about this big. So I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at here? Right? Now, you can see the arteries. There's a black thing in it. I hear he says, "You all right, dude?" And I look up and 2 guys are sitting right here, doctor and his buddy. And I said, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. He says, you see the black thing on the screen there? I said, yeah. He says, that's a stent. I'm putting it in. Watch, he's going to blow up your artery real quick.
So you woke up on the table?
Yes. Right?
Oh, fuck.
So,
I need another drink. Hold on.
We're going blonde or dark.
How you guys doing over there? Just give me the
I'm good.
bing. Okay.
I need a break.
Well, this is a true story, right? So he said, I'm putting the stent in. He's going to blow up your artery. Ready? Watch this. So I watch my artery go like this. The guy takes the stent, puts it there. He takes the air out and the blood goes through.
Uni.
Oh my gosh, dude. And I saw him like, and while I'm watching this, the girl goes, oh, by the way, the doctor here, he's a big fishing guy. You're a fishing guy,
can you sign this print for me real quick?
So he says, I go, oh, and I was kind of out of it. I'm like, oh, okay. She says, yeah, he goes, I just sea trialed my new boat.
Oh.
And I said, what kind of boat is it? He says, this kind of boat. And I said, and I didn't say anything. And he goes, well, aren't you going to say anything about the boat? Like, do you like it? I said, probably one of the worst boats ever made. Terrible.
Fantastic.
Honestly,
kind of boat was it?
And I said it'll float forever, but the finish work is probably the worst I've ever seen on boats. He said, you realize I'm doing surgery on you right now, right?
Wow.
And laughed. He was great. So we all laughed for a second. And then I go, honestly, probably why I have to pee so bad.
Hold your mic. What kind of boat was it?
I can't say that. I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
My question is, have you called your wife yet at this point?
Oh, yeah. So she's trying to get on a plane from Tennessee to get down to me.
Just making sure she's in the loop for the whole thing.
They're all doing this, and she's trying to come down. And I said, I got to pee really bad, man, like real bad. He's like, just go.
Just let it go.
You got a thing under, you got a gallon under you, a whole thing. I start taking a pee. Let me tell you something, dude. I'm peeing, and I'm peeing, and I'm peeing. Then I'm wondering, I'm wondering.
You got a bag on?
Am I really still peeing, or does it feel like you're peeing? Then all of a sudden I'm getting wet, and I'm like.
Sounds like me every morning.
No, I said to him, I said, whatever's under here is full. He goes, it's 2 gallons, not a chance. Nurse comes over. She goes, oh, there's a chance.
Keep it on. It's going?
2 gallons.
Come on.
So, long story short,
Come
I
on.
never realized that when you're. So, I went in on a Saturday. I left on a Tuesday. I lost 22 pounds of water. When you're having a heart issue, your heart sweats. When your heart's failing, it sweats water into your body. And he goes,
Oh, you told me that. That's right.
and I lost all this weight. All this water was just kind of, he goes, didn't you notice you're putting on weight? I go, yeah. So I walked an extra mile that night. I kept walking every night thinking I was like putting on, but I wasn't doing anything different than I normally would do. That night I walked 3 miles, went to bed, felt great. And then that happened at 3:30. Long story short, back to your original question.
Which I can't even
Perspective,
remember.
the perspective.
Thank you.
Right, think about this. You go through that and you say, it didn't really get me. This chair is horrible.
Thanks.
Yeah, just let you know.
Just like the C-Ray you described.
I think that they made this. So honestly, the worst thing, here's the worst part of it. 2 nights, my wife got there. 2 nights later, we're at home, right? Never forget this. You know, you have certain visions in your life as a human that you'll never forget. I remember, and I love movies. So I watch movies all the time. I'm in one of the bedrooms and my wife's at the table, the dining room table, doing some paperwork. And I walk out and I'm looking at her and I was imagining that I wasn't there. Imagine if I had died and I was imagining that I had died and I was looking at her thinking, what if she was doing funeral arrangements with the papers she's shuffling right now and she's getting ready to have to deal with that death and her children and just the whole thing, and that got me. And when I was looking at her that night, it spooked me out. It's just scary to think that, that, and as much as I know where I'm going, I really love being here because we do cool stuff. But that got me.
Faith, hope,
Mm-hmm.
and love.
Sure.
Right? So that's what keeps you going.
100%. Me, I've already done everything. Like, we haven't even talked about fish. Fishing for me.
We're not probably.
No, I don't. Fishing is a
You don't talk about
vessel.
what fishing means to you.
Vessel.
That's what we talk about.
My sword fishing and fishing to me is only are my life vessel
Mm-hmm.
of going through life and
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing, whether it's art or music or fishing or whatever. That's just your vessel for you to get from here to here. But when you talk about your family and your wife and your kids and your lucky, it was shocking to me to think, because we have creative minds, right? Imagining her making funeral arrangements when I walked out of the bedroom and she didn't see me. And I imagined like saying something right then, hey honey, and she didn't look up because it wasn't real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was actually, I almost wanted to say, I didn't want to say it because maybe there was a chance I was actually seeing from the outside, you know what I mean?
Think about the struggle of doing what we do, kind of like this hybrid of combining passion with work and the balance of it all and trying to figure out happiness throughout it all. And sometimes it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And, the choices that we've made in our lives to get to the point where we are
Mm-hmm.
have obviously been the right choices. From a perspective of we're both successful in this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really kind of tie it in what it all means and what it matters, and you start thinking about second half issues,
Mm-hmm.
like it really, like when we were younger, like I'm sure you had the idea in your head, like I'm going to paint fish and it's going to be this cool ass life and everything like that. But then you have family and you have kids, and then you start becoming a business and you start taxes and Excel sheets and bottom lines and all this other kind of crap. And it becomes this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unintended consequence kind of thing. Right? Which is good because that's how you know you're actually taking it to the level it needs to be. But at the same time, it can take away the original fire that you had for this, right?
Sure.
You still have that fire?
I would say that I have too much fire, man. I do. But in a different light, coming from a different perspective.
What's that perspective?
You know, I do a lot with underprivileged kids. I do a lot with special needs children.
Thank you for taking it that direction.
My father was big into special needs when I was young. I grew up around that. You know, one of the things that's hugely important to me, man, in my life, like we're all sitting here, right? We're all hanging out, we're fellowshipping, we're talking about life, we're trying to figure it out as human beings and God's creatures here, you know, and like you're figuring like what is this? Like what is my purpose here, right? What is your purpose that? Is that just your vessel, right? Okay, because I can tell you that you've done that painting and you did that painting and that's a great painting and that one's great, this one's okay. That one is whatever. We're so open about our paintings, so we don't care about that. But if you think about
the hell's wrong with scatter?
I love that one. But if you think about it, and people don't really realize this. This is the truth. When you talk to an artist or you talk to a guy like that, when you look at a painting and you say, man, that painting or this painting right here that's behind me, do you know how much time alone is spent? Not just thinking about the technique or pulling it off. It's the what goes on between your ears to be able to pull that off, right? So all of the years of technique and tool and being able to train yourself, it still took you how many hours?
180.
180 hours. So that's days and days and days of being alone, staring 2 to 3 feet from a canvas with some liquid paint and a paintbrush, right? So keeping the passion for that at times, especially if you're not doing it for yourself, man, you talk about a trying thing. So when you say, you know, do I still have a passion for it? I have more passion for wanting to paint what I want to paint, which doesn't really happen all that often.
Bingo.
And that's the hard part. I'm kind of getting... Don't mix cups. I
have the green one.
Yeah, don't mix cups. Keeping an eye on him. So, going back to...
Irish cups today.
I know. Hey, there it is.
Oh, look at that.
She said, do you drink? I said, here's the tattoo. Like, right? So, going back to it, I feel the older I get, the more I want to paint for things that I truly want to. How many marlin have you painted, Dennis? How many swordfish have you painted? How many? So I don't care if you sell Italian furniture, high-end sets, doesn't matter what you do. You got to love what you do, right? But it's not always fun. I don't care. Fishing guys, yeah, you can say that's the best life. When you do it every single day, it's very difficult. So for us, for creative guys, it's about doing things that you truly want to do, and it's the fight between making the wage. So making the wage and paying the mortgage, or being financially independent and not having to constantly do for others when it comes to job or commission.
Right.
So the older I get, like even with the other, you know, I have to pull back on certain aspects of my life. And even if it costs me money, I will make, again, thinking, I'm going to concentrate more efforts in the things that I enjoy. And because I'm creative and because I give 110% to whatever it is, I will make it up here. If I don't want to do commissions and I don't want to draw boats, I don't need to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend so much time doing this, and I'm going to make it up. And I'm confident in that. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Carlene.
Thank you. But it's a wonderful thing. But again, it's so time consuming, and people have
very time consuming.
People have no option.
I'm glad you brought up. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
I'm glad you brought up. You know, the painting for yourself thing, because I think that's really important, especially as Father Time starts creeping up and you start perspective. You start looking at it's funny, and I'll get to my point, but I want to bring this up first because I think it's important to illustrate the fact that I was talking to Troy at the Pompano Beach Seafood Festival, and he goes, "How old are you?" I'm like, 48. Right? I'm like, "Why? How old are you?" And he goes, "Oh shit, I can't remember. Oh, 43." Like that. You see, I'm getting old. I'm forgetting. I said, "That's not what's happening." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "What's happening is you got so affixed with tuning yourself up to 40. Oh, I'm 38, 39, getting to 40, and they're going to have that big bash and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
And once you hit 40, then you don't give a shit. You start going, "Oh, am I 41? Am I 42? Am I 43? I don't know."
Sure.
You know what I mean? You actually do start forgetting your age. Right? It happened to me too. I was like, "Well, what am I, 43, 44? I couldn't remember." But as you start creeping towards 50, you start remembering again because you're not 50 yet. Right? And you're just like, no, I'm 47, bro. I am not there yet.
Right.
Then you start really remembering. No, bro, I'm 48 there. I'm not there yet.
Right.
That's you start remembering.
Sure.
So the saying is, you take your perspective and you start looking at that second half of your life.
No question.
Okay, and then you guys start asking yourself about the vessels and what's important. What's the vessel? What's the important vessel that you want to ride out in?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
You're gonna paint for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You got to paint for yourself because there's the balance of making money and there's the intrinsic value that you're going to take with you in life, right? And you're going to say, all right, well, I got to really look at what I built here and what's worth keeping doing and what's not, and what's going to make me happy. Because is happiness the goal?
Yes. It is the goal. Happiness?
Yeah.
It's not money.
Right.
Money's the byproduct of doing what we do.
So if you're going to let the client rule your day.
Yeah, no, and I watch you. I think about you a lot. You're awesome, dude. I gotta tell you, man.
That makes two of us, RJ.
I think about you. I'll never forget this. There's a kid living across the street from my mom in Deerfield, Steve Pori, and I was doing artwork. I've always trying to make a living doing artwork, but I was never the best artist or anything. I was kind of a run of the mill. Kind of still. I could do some
with that.
When you're growing, you're trained in art.
You're a good artist, RJ.
Right.
Great artist.
My point is, I'll never forget Steve. Man, I must have been, let's say I was 21. He's holding up a dolphin shirt, like a mahi jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Friel. I said, I don't know who the hell's Dennis Friel? He says, oh, he's the best artist. And I look at the dolphin on the back of the shirt, mahi. I said, holy crap, man. Better watch out for this dude, man. And you weren't in the game forever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I start seeing some artwork by Dennis Friel, and I go, Steve Pori. That was the dude, and you went to high school with him or something.
So a funny story about Steve.
Yes.
Was that in high school? Gibbons, all the parking lots all outside, right?
Yeah.
So you keep our books in our trunk.
Yeah.
There were no
Most
locker
parking
rooms.
lots are outside.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just saying.
It's the blonde.
It's the room. See,
that's coming from a Pollock. Okay?
We have reached.
I mean,
Hey, we have reached the inevitable point in the show where the rum's kicked in.
Okay.
We kept our books in our trunks.
Right.
Outside in a parking lot.
Everyone was outside. That was our locker room. That's what I meant to say. The lockers were outside.
Right. Sure.
Yanni's
so
comforting
pretty.
me here.
Yes, it's okay.
He's like, it's okay, Dennis, lay down.
It's okay.
So Steve, like in between classes, like, hey D, you gotta come check this out, right?
Yeah.
And he's like this little black tape, right? 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine.
Cassette.
Puts his cassette. Thank you for clarifying.
Tape.
He puts the cassette, and he's got this old BMW.
Yeah.
Right? And he puts it in. That was the first time I ever heard 9 Inch Nails.
Really?
It was in Steve Pori's car in the parking lot of Cardinal Gibbons.
I want to fuck you like an animal or
Whoa!
what?
I love this woman.
Just saying, it's my
again.
wedding song, so.
Yeah, oh, I got you.
No. I walked down the aisle to it. That should have totally been her wedding song.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. When she was out having a baby, I missed her so much.
Oh, man. Oh, Steve Porry. So he said Dennis Friel, and I said, who the hell's Dennis Friel now? And when you came on the scene, I remember seeing some of your images. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, okay, another one that's better than us. Anyway, I said, and I remember seeing the books that the 365.
Yeah. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my entire
The
life.
fact that you actually had to take the time to do that, I went, what an undertaking, and why would you do that? But you know what?
But Derek did it first.
Yeah, I would never. Don't ever ask him. I've never done
I was talking to Derek, like it was like
Oh
a
my
week
God.
before the end of the year, right? And I
Yeah.
talked to Derek. I'm like, oh my God, I bet you're glad to done with that, right? And he goes, yeah, you try it. Like that, he says to
Yeah.
me. I'm like, yeah?
I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Right? I told my wife, she's like, are you insane?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Some of the best,
She's like, you're busy enough. Like, you
most
don't need this project.
most creative artwork of all time was created in that 365. And I said, man, this guy is truly, truly a gifted artist to be able to do something real. Watercolor, black and whites, just the array of different types of artwork, man. I got to tell you, because I love art and I love looking at other people's art. I love different styles and seeing all that and just taking it in. Man, what a gift you've been given. And you're doing it for a living. So, I mean, and I know it's not always fun, right? But what's it for? That's my question to you would be, what's it really for? I'm not looking, you don't have to answer it.
I mean, I can.
Do you know why you know what it's for?
No, I don't. But that's the search, right? That's the journey, and I think that's really it.
Yeah.
Is the discovery and the process to it all, and I think that's what I'm infatuated with.
Yeah.
Is the process and the story that gets told every day.
Yeah.
And as much as I complained to you about the people that we spoke about before,
yeah,
like off camera, like I still.
It's a tough industry, man.
Yeah, it's a tough
It
industry.
is.
I still look at it as all part of the process.
Sure.
And all part of that. Like perfect is impossible, but the striving and that search and that journey for it is really the adventure, the call to adventure of it all.
Yeah.
And you just, because when you start creating work and you start painting a lot and you start drawing a lot, like you start looking at body of work, and then you start looking at patterns of work process and approaches, and you start really seeing like Neo in the Matrix. You start seeing beyond it, you know, and there's something to that. Like it's not nothing, and you really like start looking at who you are, right? You always say like, listen, being an artist, it's not what we do, it's who we are. And there's a difference, right? When you do something for a living, that's a choice. Right? Well, us doing this, like doing it for a living is a choice, but you'd still be doing it.
Sure.
If you weren't doing it for
No
a
question.
living. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's that gray area, right? And that's not nothing either. Right? And you got to really push through the minutia and the people and the necessary things you need to do to continue your craft.
Sure.
And that's what keeps me pushing forward.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my purpose. My purpose really is to, like, the end of your life, it's going to be just you sitting there.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. It's just going to be you, and you're going to be looking back at your life and be like, what did I accomplish? Right? Yes, I love my family, and I'd put myself before them at all times.
Okay.
My wife, everything like that, right? Put myself before them. But you got to create this balance of, am I pursuing the path that I want to pursue, and I also providing for my family at the same time? The satisfaction that comes from that is impeccable, and it's immeasurable. That's what keeps me moving forward. Purpose. It's on multi-levels, I'd have to say. You want to create purpose, like you want to be the best artist you can be. You want to create the best work. It's all said and done. You want to look back on your work and be proud of it. And you want to say, did I try my hardest? And that's what gets me past the whole competing with other artists thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
Is that you want to look back, and I came to, when you're younger, you don't look at it the same way. When you get older, I think you come to a certain maturity about it, and you
No
understand
doubt.
the fellowship of it all,
That's correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I love you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've shared moments together, and we've shared moments apart. I'm sure you got people coming to you complaining about me and whatever.
Same.
It's like whatever, and you just be like,
Careful, he's gonna ask you to go sit in that outside parking lot and listen to some 9 Inch Nails here shortly.
know.
So I'm just
and I just say
saying.
I just say the same thing. Listen, RJ's a friend, and
Yeah.
that's what I say every time. And it's just like, listen, but if I'm putting a perspective on it all,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm putting on the why, the what, the how, and it makes me feel
Mm-hmm.
right, it still makes me happy to be able to do this,
Mm-hmm.
not just for a living, but just to be able to do this. I paint fish.
Yep.
You paint fish.
Right.
We look at you. You do it differently than I do. You look at it differently than I do because you fished a hell of a lot more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think I look at my work a little bit more from the perspective of culture, and you look at it more from a perspective of authenticity of
Mm-hmm.
an angler and a captain, right? And that's just, it just is what it is. There's just a different path,
Different.
right?
Yeah.
But that speaks to how we approach our work differently,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that.
Totally
and I love
different.
seeing when you come out with new pieces, and I love the celebration. And I talk to Derek about this all the time, and I love when seeing he comes up with different perspectives, and Adrian, and just looking all the, oh my God, the work that Adrian puts out, fantastic, right? And
Yeah.
Craig Bertram Smith and all those guys. I mean, phenomenal stuff,
Really
but
good.
different,
Totally.
and it becomes a fellowship after a while.
It's funny because
You can't compete.
no,
It makes no sense.
no, not at all. And you know what? To be honest with you, we're in such an interesting thing. Maybe it's like boats. It's like the guy who loved that boat.
Mhm.
That doctor who loved that boat. And I went, geez, man, a couple of years he's shot out.
Yeah.
But he loves his boat, right?
Right.
But here's the truth of it. You can have a customer walk in this shop and they would never tell you they didn't like something, but they'd go, that's the best piece I've ever seen. I don't know what that's all about, but and that's great. The beauty of art is, man, everybody's got a style, everybody's got a thing, and you're not going to like everything. And once you get to the point where you understand you're comfortable enough with your art, with that, hey, man, you might not like my style, and it's okay, But I feel like
I think you got to look at it. I think you got to look at. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think you got to look at it like paint for yourself.
I would like to say that, but that's not the truth when it comes to dollars and cents of painting.
Now, when it comes to the custom stuff,
Correct. Well, that's what I'm saying. So if I say to you, if a guy walks through this door right now and says, "Hey, Dennis, man, I want you to do a custom piece for me, and I want you to do my Merritt boat with the blue marlin jumping. I really want a sunset, but I like pink skies," and you hand there's that, and so you're trying to take all the gray area out of it. But when you hand them that original that cost $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever it might be, there's still that. You still have that. Is he going to like it? Feeling.
yeah.
I hope he loves it.
You see, every time you press send, right?
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
and it's uneasy till he says,
No matter how good
My
you
God,
are, no
that's
matter
the-
how successful
doesn't
you are,
matter.
you feel it every time.
I love it. This is more than I imagined. Or you get, great, I'll call you tomorrow for shirts. And you're like, okay, but did he really like it?
Yeah, did he like it? Yeah, I get
But
that
that's
too.
the personality of that guy because that's what
Yeah.
he does.
Well, then
so-
you got to get that. You got to make a choice, though. That's where you have to make the choice.
Totally. And again, the deeper side, going back to your purpose or our purpose as human beings, we're not talking about fishing. We're talking about, I just would encourage everybody, and I think about this all. I'm a Christian. I'm a faith-based guy. I believe in God. I
Makes
believe
two
in
of
Jesus
us,
Christ,
yeah.
right? So and I just feel, and we were talking about this last night. I do a Bible study at the store every Tuesday night. So last night we did the Bible study, and we're back at the beginning in Genesis again, 16, and we're talking about Abraham and Isaac and what happened then, and old culture and Jewish law, and we're talking about it a little more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about it is that, and I said last night, we were talking with the guys, you can't get to heaven by works, right? So you don't get to heaven by doing good deeds. Just because you're a nice guy doesn't mean you're going to heaven. You have to believe, right? So if you believe, okay, and if you truly believe with your mind and your heart that he's our Savior, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is that works become a byproduct of faith. So if I'm a believer and I look outside and I go, that rainstorm we just had is everything that we see is created by him, right? So you go, man, even for fishing guys, and this has always got me, you go out the inlet and you look at the sun coming up and there's no wind. And you start driving out to the sword grounds and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. You really believing in science?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But to me, looking at that, there's no question how this was created. That's me, right? So not everybody gets it at the same time, gets what I'm talking about. And a lot of times when you're older and you've gone through trials and tribulations in your life, you start to look at yourself or your life a little different, right? And your purpose of what you do. And man, I would just encourage, guys who are fishing for a living or making a life on the water, if you're a believer, to look around and the byproduct of doing things for other people that aren't as fortunate as we are. I love that. I love to see people give their time. I love it, man. With the mission fishing thing and seeing kids come to the water that are dealt a different card than we are, and families that, the first one, and I'll never forget it, watching the dad hold the wheelchair, like with the freaking grip, like you wouldn't believe, for the hour. I felt more for the dad than I did for the kid. The kid had a smile on his face the whole time because the waves were going up and down and it was affecting his stomach. But it was the dad, right? And the siblings who weren't paid attention to as much as the kid. So, and I'm not saying it's mission fishing. I'm saying whatever it is for you in your life that you're able to give back as a byproduct of faith, we all need to give back. It's a huge thing for us as human beings and as believers to give back, And we have Jewish people. We pray. Some of the, and their thoughts might not be exactly the same as we are, but man, I just love that about people, the loving side of people giving and people spending their time or giving of their boat and that's great too, but it's about your time. You come out, you spend time doing something for someone else, man. How awesome is that? So the purpose of what you're talking about, you have young kids. My kids are 25 and 27, right? So as you go through your life and your importance of what you are and who you are and what you're on your last day when you look back and they say, Dennis, tell me about Dennis Friel. What did he offer this world and what did he do? And so when you think about those, because we all look in the mirror in the morning, we have to answer to ourselves, right? Some people never get it.
Yeah.
We know that. And you look at evil in this world, of the things that, with that elementary school thing and some of the things that happen in this world, those are God allowed evil. That started in the beginning. Evil exists in this world. That's not a God thing. That's an evil. That's a devil thing. That's a hell thing. That's real. There's evil. Unfortunately, we're humans, and by nature, and it's going to sound weird to say this, we're all scumbags. We truly are. Deep down in our hearts, we have greed. We look at porn. Every guy, if you just I sit here across from you, porn, and especially today and all the things that are happening in our world.
What's wrong with porn?
It's just getting heavy.
I'm just wondering here. I'm a woman.
You're hitting a sore subject over here.
Okay, so we won't cover it. So
I've only got like 5 minutes on my, I'm just kidding.
But as human beings, right, we have to check ourselves. And the more you check yourselves, the better you get at what you do. And you try to have a healthy demeanor. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, last August, youngest of 6, I was chosen to write the eulogy for my father and read it at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlene was there,
Mm-hmm.
and she is witness to this. My dad was a deacon. I grew up in very, I say very religious household, but it was a fun household. And knowing my dad was not to know the deacon, was to know my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things I wrote in that eulogy was one thing that my father always instilled in us is that if you're a man of Christ, then that means you're present in your community
Mm-hmm.
and you're a valuable member in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks a lot to what you're talking about. I think that is really an important thing, is to be of service to your community whenever you can within your power. And I think that's a very important thing.
For sure.
And it goes back to what you're saying. It's like, well, when Dennis is there, like you're looking back on his life. It's like, what do you want to be?
For sure.
And I want people to look back on it and say, well, he made everyone realize that we're all connected by water. And what that means is that we're all bound and we're all together and we do community outreach and we all use our community as service to better everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Connected by Water is, more so than an art studio.
Mm-hmm.
Like that theory of it, that's really what it means.
Right.
Is that we're out there and we're together and we're doing things
For
for
sure.
our community. Right? And it speaks to the Starbright program that we have going on.
Yeah.
And it speaks to you and I getting together and talking about this. And that's what this show is all about. It's not a fishing show. Right.
No.
Lord knows listen,
Right.
you have an entire
Right.
platform built on how to fish.
Yeah.
Right. You are an expert at fishing. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why would I have a fishing show? You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're doing it fine enough for everybody else. Right. And why would I do that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about life. I'm talking about culture. I'm talking about people. And I'm talking about how that relates to our passion.
For sure. And I think that's why it's important to lay that
And
stuff out.
That is really what I want everyone to understand about it. And, have the perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it means so much to me that you and I can have a good relationship.
I agree with that. How wonderful is it?
Yeah. It really has been such a treat knowing you and being friends with you and just going down this road with you together. Listen, I know a lot of people think that we compete with each other and we just don't. You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out there. Literally, if every person that owned a boat came to us and said, we need you to make shirts for us or we need you to create art for us, we just flat out wouldn't have the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's enough to go around for everybody. So I'm going to just tell that to anyone listening right now.
And the truth is, one last thing on that, man.
Yeah.
Real quick. I think another tackle store opened up down the road here this week.
Mm-hmm.
There's 10 shops in a 5-mile span.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like, that's the messed up thing is I always look at you as RJ the artist first. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
one of the best tackle shops.
Yeah, and it's funny because people say, this guy talked about this guy's shop, and to be honest with you, I don't even. Now, when I was younger, it was competitive.
When you're younger, it's different.
Your mind
all
doesn't
that shit
work the
matters,
same.
and it just shouldn't.
Man, people, if you're cool, right? If you're cool, and the guy sells the same gear down the road, he can be cheaper, he can be more, whatever. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
There's no real loyalty anymore in business. Business is unethical. I mean, the fact, I can't, it makes me sick. I grew up in an old school era selling furniture with my dad when I was young. When you had territories, I might be able to sell this in a 15-mile span. Nobody else had it. And you were protected. Now, the manufacturers, for crying out loud, sell discounted rates online, and while we're putting stuff on our shelves and paying you. How unethical. That's unethical. Business is so bad.
Yeah.
Business ethics, there is no ethics anymore. And that's the biggest part of growth when it comes from a business perspective for me. We have one of the nicest tackle stores in the world.
Sure,
not in Florida, not in the world. And technically, we're at the top of the food chain, being able to rig and do all that stuff. But the truth is, all these shops locally. And I travel a lot, so it's so different than everywhere else. You go to Texas, man. There's a shop here, and then there's no city for another 20 miles.
Right.
It's not the same. So just to be able to call someone up down the street, hey man, you got a Tiagra 30? I'll give it to you tomorrow. Okay, cool. Man, you got to work together. You got to be cool with the guy. And everybody wants to shop everywhere because nobody shops at one spot anymore. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so you have to look at it and embrace that. Go, all right, you know what, man? I'm going to hang out with that guy. I'll talk about that guy. He's got a great shop. Who cares? So to me, we all, whatever facet it is, whether it's marine artists, tackle stores, competitors in the same arena, when you get along, it's such a wonderful thing, man.
Sure is.
It is. And you got to get to a point where you can think like that.
It's peaceful.
100%. You got to be confident in what you do as well.
You got to be confident.
100%.
Confidence is the key. And I think goes without question.
That's it. And I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on.
It's been a while. We've missed each other for a long
Yeah. Well,
thing.
I'm happy that I'm sitting across the table from you and that,
Yeah.
it was not the other way around. Given your, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Good thing that train didn't come.
Right? I know.
So, all right.
All right.
RJ, brother.
Hey.
Yeah. Cheers.
Grains.
Yep.
Hey.
Carlene.
That was a lot of serious stuff tonight.
It was.
Hey. That's
all right.
okay. That's all right. What?
Was ended it with a bang there. Though.
But you go, man, I didn't really, what are we going to talk about tonight? That was pretty heavy.
I never, I already know you.
Right.
So I didn't need to research this episode. You know what I mean?
No.
So I didn't even think about it. I thought about it all day you coming in, but I was like, no, I'm not going to think about what to talk about. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let it take on life itself.
That's it.
So
let it ride.
That's it.
All right. We'll do it again.
All right. Well, listen, if you're in the market for a new truck or Jeep or anything that can run over 95-pound big iTunas like they caught in the ladies' fish off last week.
Yeah.
Call our good buddies over at Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. They will hook you up.
No doubt.
Call Dean. Tell him that you're with the Connected by Water podcast and you're going to get a better deal than anybody else. All right. And if you're thirsty and it happens to be Friday night or whatever night, doesn't really matter. Wrestle up yourself a bottle of the Papa's Pilar rum. RJ and I were drinking the blonde with a little touch of ginger on top of it today.
Great, man.
Yeah,
Did us right.
Gingers.
Right?
Gotta love it.
Yeah. And also, if you're hungry, go over to Papa's Raw Bar and check out their Connected by Water sushi menu, inspired by rolls that are named after people that we know. What do you want to say?
Not fucking saying anything.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. All right, listen, and if you want to catch a swordfish, especially, right, and you want to go to the right shop to make sure you take care of making that happen,
Yep.
definitely go over to RJ Boyle Studio off Federal Highway and 48th Street in Lighthouse Point.
Yep.
It's a staple.
We'll be out there tomorrow.
Yep. And RJ will get you dialed in. If he's not there, then he's got a fantastic crew that will be able to help you out.
There you go.
Right? So,
All right,
all
man.
right, cool. Your ego, it's not your amigo.
There you
Always do your best, and at the end of the day, just let God do the rest.
There
And
it
do
is.
not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all
Connected by water.
connected by water.
Cheers.
Thanks, RJ.